Thank you.
Evan.
I'm Evan. This is Galen. Sorry that Guy isn't here. That's sad, but he had to leave. So we don't want to say much. We'll be here afterwards if there are questions. There's two films. One is 10 minutes long, roughly, and it's self-explanatory. And the 62-minute film that follows is a remake of Vertigo, and that will explain some things. If you've seen Vertigo, you'll understand a little more. If you haven't seen Vertigo, that's okay. That's okay too. It'll be confusing for everybody in the same kind of way. And we'll be back. Thanks for coming, everyone.
So the others are, they're coming. So for everybody who is watching, we already know the directors somewhat, but Juliette Hagopian is the producer of Accidence, and Ensign Broderick did the soundtrack for Accidence. And maybe I'd like to start with that film because it looks like you're actually... It looks like we actually got two Hitchcock homages, not just one here. And I wonder if you could talk a little bit about how the idea for Accidents, I mean, kind of for those of you who, probably a lot of you know Hitchcock's Rear Window, and you know that idea of looking out on windows and balconies and that kind of thing, and following the stories of other people's lives. Maybe how did you come to this for this film?
Should I start? And I'll hand the mic over to you. Ensign Broderick, the musician, approached Guy and us about working together, and when he approached us, we were basically standing on Galen's balcony, staring out the window at another building with a bunch of balconies. That's more or less what happened. We didn't have the idea of actually making that into a film at that time because we're kind of slow-witted. It took 2.5 weeks or 3 weeks of being like, what would you make a film about? Until we decided, how about the balconies? And Galen can take it from there because he's a kind of a voyeur.
Well, I just have a really good view of this sort of 10 or 11 story high building. I live on the 26th floor and I just face onto it. And it's just so fun to watch. There's like every little balcony is a stage with a little boring play happening on it. So there's all these different narratives and they don't relate to each other in any way. No one person on a balcony can see the next balcony. So sometimes there's a comedy going on in one balcony, a tragedy going on in the next. Literally one day I saw there was someone threatening to jump, and there were crisis counselors and firemen, and it was really horrifying. But on a few balconies over, there was just a guy practicing his flute. So there's these real like dramatic sort of dissonances between all these different balconies, and we thought that would be fun to play with in a short film.
And maybe like Ensign Broderick, I mean, you had the idea of working with Guy Maddin, but I mean, when did you come into the process of this film? Because it seems like the soundtrack is so connected to exactly what's going on, the choreography.
Well, the song was written first, and 3 iterations of it, but I was very deeply influenced by Evan and Galen and Guy's work on Forbidden Room, where they used music as a linear thing, but also as a descriptor for the entire film. So I had 3 songs that were the same song, done in different variations, and I thought it'd be nice to work with them and let them do what they wanted with the music. So we didn't talk conceptually ever. They had the music, and I said, do whatever you want with the music to make it support the film. So the song became in service of the film as opposed to anything else.
Okay, and Juliette, maybe you could talk a little bit about or all of you, about the choreography and the difficulty of doing this. It seems like so carefully organized.
Well, what I was going to say, What I was going to say was that the reason it came to me was because Guy sent me an email that said, short film, favor or request. And I actually thought, when I looked at it, it said in the email, do you know a producer or a PM, or do you know someone who would help us with a favor? And I just replied instantly and said, I'll be your producer. You don't need anyone else. And so I came on board that way. And I really enjoyed working with Galen, Evan, and Guy. They were totally prepared to do this entire thing, and I was impressed of the way they choreographed everything and brought everything together so quickly. And I just thought, what a great film to be part of, and just all done within an 8-minute take, and it was fantastic to be part of that. These guys and the music and the choreographing of the sets and how it all timed out perfectly. Oh, that's my opinion.
Do you guys want to add something to that about the
Not much.
process?
It was not as difficult as we thought it would be, I guess. You just need to make a list of everything everyone has to do by the second, and they have to, 40 people in there, something like that, and they have to all hit their marks on every second if anything's going to work. And we got it on the third take, so it was mostly just planning the timing, which is a really boring thing to do. It's like, although I shouldn't say that, I was going to say it's like maybe making train schedules, which is actually probably that could be exciting, I think, for some people. A lot of people really love train schedules. I think there's train schedule enthusiasts, and I may be one of them now. No, it was actually, and Juliette as a producer made things easy for it. It was just kind of easy to make. Too easy.
Okay, too easy. Maybe we could talk a little bit now about the green fog, because that was unusual for Guy Maddin's work. I mean, I guess to get a commission, to actually be commissioned by the San Francisco Film Society to make a film. And I was wondering if there were any particular constraints that were put on you guys from the Film Society. I mean, did they give you, kind of boundaries?
Yeah, they were having a 60th or 70th anniversary, I can't quite remember, and they wanted the three of us to make a found footage film sort of celebrating San Francisco on film. So we could only use footage that was shot in San Francisco, was the constraint they gave us. They also gave us the constraint that they needed to see a rough cut within 3.5 weeks. And we gave ourselves the constraint after a couple weeks of watching films, just using all this footage to remake Vertigo, Alfred Hitchcock's Vertigo, partially because we just needed some kind of structure to hold it together, if it indeed holds together. But we also just thought I guess the hubris of that made us laugh. Remaking, Vertigo had just been voted the greatest film of all time in a Sight and Sound poll, and we thought that's a perfect time because Guy always said we could, we have the advantage. We've seen Vertigo, so we can improve upon it by remaking it, so we can make a few tweaks and make it a little bit better. So he claims that's what we've done.
And after all this archival work that you also did on the Forbidden Room together, I mean, did you have a working method for getting this footage, working through it, cataloging it already? Or, I mean, what was that process like? Yeah,
the working method was we acquired as many films made and shot in San Francisco as we could, and there was, we ended up with 350 or 400. And then television shows as well. We had 100 hours of the 80s soap opera Hotel to look through, and 50 or 60 hours of the streets of San Francisco. So we had a lot of material, and then you start editing it up by theme and Guy has this kind of associative brain where no matter what, if he's thinking about Vertigo, no matter what he sees reminds him of Vertigo. So it was difficult sometimes to convince him, I don't think that's like Vertigo. That's not really, this part's not that much like Vertigo. But he would think, yes it is, because that was maybe the challenge, was trying to convince Guy that we needed to focus more on the plot. But I don't know, he was at Harvard, but after a few weeks of watching films, he had to go back to Harvard, and so Galen and I just started editing, sending things to Guy. He would give us notes and back and forth, and that's how we did it.
Right. And the idea for the green fog itself, kind of bringing that into the story, I mean, where did that come in?
Yeah, so there's this famous scene in Vertigo where Scotty finally gets Judy Barton to look exactly like Madeline Elster, and she comes out of the bathroom perfect, but weirdly there's a green glow of light from a hotel sign, and the green glow, it's not part of the makeover. She looks perfect because he's gotten every little bit right, but there's this weird green glow anyway, and it seems to help. It seems to add to the illusion, and so, or we thought, I think we just came to the conclusion that maybe the green light is literally there, but and it's a foggy kind of a light because it's like this fog of love. We just started thinking of it as this kind of weird, gross surplus of love. Like, love is happening, but it's got this destructive off gas, to use the word Galen taught me. Love's off gas is what the green fog was. So it's this surplus, this destructive surplus of love. Like Vertigo is one of the great movies about how disgusting and horrible love is, I suppose. In addition to many other things, some of them very disturbing, issues around the male gaze. I don't know. It seemed to make sense at the time, I guess, that I'll edit that. That makes sense.
You can just cut out the dialogue and we'll just. But even this method that you have of, it seems like, in the one hand, I mean, these are iconic films, some of them, but you're not showing us iconic scenes from them necessarily. You're going for sort of things that are maybe lesser known or that don't have these pre-associations. But maybe you could talk a little bit about that, style you're using of kind of cutting out dialogue, only using little bits of facial expressions.
Yeah, we found all sorts of scenes, like dialogue scenes, that we really liked. We liked the costume or the actor or the shifting dynamic, the acting, but the dialogue was totally not relevant to Vertigo, so the most rational thing seemed to be just cut it all out. And the first time we did that, we were like, holy shit, this is amazing. There's so much sexual tension here now, the performances are better. It just transforms everything, so we just did it, to as many dinner scenes as possible. There's probably a 3-hour version of this movie waiting to be made of all the dinner scenes we had to cut of people just staring at each other wantonly. But it was just sort of a way to get rid of this stuff that was not relevant to Vertigo.
Great. So I want to maybe open questions up to the audience. I think we have microphones on two sides of the room. So are there any questions? Right here. Is there a microphone person?
I can just shout it.
Or you can shout.
Well, it's a simple question. It was just about the kind of strange Chuck Norris section in the middle. I'm just wondering where that came from. It was great.
Okay, so Chuck Norris is the question.
It's a good question. Chuck Norris. There's this Chuck Norris movie. It's called An Eye for an Eye. It's shot in San Francisco, and we were scanning through it, Galen and I, and we noticed Chuck Norris just looked sad. We needed a sequence for, I guess, there's a brief sort of sequence in Vertigo where Scotty enters his catatonia and he just sort of wanders around in a sad daze. And we needed a sequence like that, and so we just cut out all the saddest looking Chuck Norris shots and edited them tightly and added some Wagner underneath to give it a little oomph. In Parsifal, I believe it is, because Parsifal wears red, I recalled, and Chuck Norris was in a red leather jacket throughout the whole movie. And we cut it together like that and put the Wagner underneath. It was kind of a joke at the time, but then Guy saw it and just cried. So we thought, well, it's working. There's not much more to it than that, other than that we were astonished by... Chuck Norris has a reputation as a bad actor, I suppose, but we were kind of amazed by... He didn't seem bad, and once we cut him together, he take out all the dumb words that actors are forced to say, and you just let their faces be. And he didn't emote much in the movie. It's like Bresson was directing him. He was just blank, and that blankness had pathos and beauty and simplicity, and right. Not to toot our own horn. No, it's Chuck Norris. that did all the work, but yeah, that was, I guess we were just amazed. We were amazed.
Other questions? Right, over there.
So I just wanted to ask, the title screens in the end, they were like saying, okay, we were quoting from this and that. I counted like 80. How much were there?
There were 100, I think, or were there 80? You may be right. And
yeah, if you counted, you're probably.
Yeah, we didn't count. So you did. It's something. I thought it was 100, but it could be. But you wouldn't have counted off by 20 unless you're not a very good counter. And I'm not suggesting that.
I started maybe after 20.
Yeah, okay. All right. Yeah, something like that. We had hundreds of films, but we only ended up using what I thought was 100. There were, of course, some of those titles, like Hotel and Streets of San Francisco, involve maybe a dozen or 24 episodes of those shows. So there was a lot of material. And then there's one uncredited, I suppose, NSYNC video for the song "This I Promise You," and a lot of stock footage actually. Like we found just a lot of like stock footage of restaurants in San Francisco that we could use. You know, fried shrimp and stuff like that, and a guy putting a lot of salt on a salad. You know.
So, other questions?
Kind of boring question, but I have to ask it about inspiration from another found footage movie. I've got in my mind two titles. If you know it by the way, or it was some kind of inspiration for you, Palfi's Final Cut, or like the best found footage movie ever made. Sorry guys, Fast movie, the short film, or Fast film, Fast movie. I'm not sure right now.
I don't know either of these films. This second, but you're referring to the second best found footage film ever made. Fast movie. I haven't. No, I'm just kidding. I'm sure it's better than this. No, we didn't even have influences. I mean, Vertigo was. We were too busy just having Vertigo as the influence and not knowing what we were doing to aspire to anything. I mean, the three of us love found footage. I could just watch anything. If you find the footage, as long as someone doesn't make the footage, if they find it, it's just amazing to me. So, and Galen, you're the same, I think, and Guy's definitely the same. And we were, I don't know, no, I don't think we were specifically, like we love, I don't know, at one point we wanted it to be, like Los Angeles plays itself, but we just weren't. We weren't smart enough. We didn't have enough. We weren't ready to write an essay about San Francisco and how it is depicted on screen. We tried to do that a little bit with some of the, like the words, the narration that we do have, which are from, there's a late, early '80s gentrification samurai thriller called Samurai, where the villain of it is this gentrifier who intends to, destroy parts of San Francisco with an earthquake because he built an earthquake machine. Anyway, and at some point we began to think that gentrification was, in a weird way, on Vertigo's mind, even though it wasn't literally on Vertigo's mind, but this scheme that Scotty, the protagonist of Vertigo, has is to take a woman who is, the movie very visibly identifies as a sort of working class girl from Middle America, and turn her into a upper class woman, Madeline Elster. And so we thought of it as a kind of cruel, evil gentrification metaphor. I'm not answering your question, or I did answer your question. I've just used it as a springboard for anything I want to say, and I shouldn't do that.
Okay. Other questions?
Here.
Was the footage you used, was it all finished films or it was the rushes? Because I had a feeling like you were using multiple takes.
It was all the finished films. We just downloaded them. I don't think if we were better researchers or archivists and had more time, we would have acquired. It'd be great to acquire people's rushes and all that kind of thing. But we did it quickly, and I suppose I don't even know if we reuse. There's one shot we reuse over and over again, and that's at the near the beginning, and that's the first shot of Vertigo, which is the only appearance of Vertigo in the film. This bar at night on a ladder. We should use that shot over and over again. The rest, I don't think there's any shot repetitions. That's just an illusion, one of our illusions.
Other questions? Right there.
I just wanted to ask, where did you find the films? It was like films that you all knew that exist, or where did you make the research for the movies about San Francisco?
The internet.
Okay.
That's the simple answer, right?
Yeah, and it's still the internet, what I'm going to say. I just wanted to say it because I like to hear myself talk. The internet. Also, people on the there's obsessive San Francisco on film bloggers and things like that who keep lists. I found a spreadsheet of films shot in San Francisco, and it had 800 titles on it or something. It's hard to find them all, and we didn't have much time. Again, we were asked to deliver a rough cut in 3 weeks. We didn't. In the end, we had something like 2.5 months, almost 3 months to make it. But we didn't have time to acquire all the stuff we would have wanted to. We ordered a few things from Amazon, Japan, and some bootlegs from Germany, but that's about it.
Other questions? Right here in the middle.
What are the rights issues to getting clips like that? How did that not cost a small fortune?
Yeah, or even a big fortune, because I thought that if we got the rights to all this stuff, it would have cost $15 million or something, yeah. And it cost $15,000. It's just editing labor. I shouldn't just tell you our salary on it. Might make it seem not worth it. But yes, we had Guy spent a lot of time with a fair use lawyer via email. He would send our sequences to her and explain what they were doing and justify their usage aesthetically within this work, intellectually, that kind of thing. And if she bought it, she would say, okay. And if she didn't, she would say, I think you need to tighten up your reasoning or lose some of this footage. And so we did a lot of that with this lawyer. And I always thought it helped. I thought maybe it helped that other people had come before us. I know Los Angeles Plays Itself, the great Tom Anderson film, which is wall-to-wall footage of film shot in Los Angeles, was eventually released commercially and on DVD because someone brave enough to do it did it, and I think it was fine. And so I think that's what we were just thought, it'll be fine, I guess. I think initially we weren't. It was just they were just going to show it one night in San Francisco anyway. We were just asked to make a film for that night, so I don't think they were that worried about it. But they had a lawyer, and we talked to the lawyer, and I think everything's okay.
Okay. Any more questions? Right here.
What do you think Hitchcock would make of it?
I don't think Hitchcock would like it very much. I mean, I don't know. He's got a sense of humor, the guy, but it's not very precise like Hitchcock is. But we thought it was precise. We were working precisely, frame by frame sometimes, but it's definitely not precise in the way Hitchcock liked things. Although, later on, and like post-Psycho, after Marnie, Hitchcock I think he was trying to develop like strange art house thrillers that never got made and stuff like that. Maybe he wouldn't like it. Maybe.
Any other questions? All right. If there are no other questions, then I want to thank all of you for being here and for bringing out one but two films. Thank you so much.